You have been trying so hard to see it. You close your eyes and you strain. You concentrate. You focus all your energy on building that mental picture, brick by brick, color by color, face by face. And either you see nothing at all, or you see something vague and flickering, something that dissolves the moment you try to hold it. And then you feel like a failure. You feel like this entire teaching, this entire promise that imagination creates reality, is not for you, that you are somehow broken, somehow unable to do what others seem to do so naturally. Let me tell you something right now, something that will lift a burden you have been carrying unnecessarily. You are not broken. You have not failed, and the reason you have struggled is not because you lack the power, but because you have been aiming at the wrong target. Visualization is not the point. It never was. The image is not the power. The image is not the power. The feeling is the power. And if you can feel without seeing, you are doing exactly what Neville Goddard taught, exactly what the law requires, and you will get your results just as surely as anyone who sees in vivid technicolor. In fact, I would go so far as to say this: if you have been struggling to visualize, you may be closer to the truth than those who got lost in the pictures, because you have been forced to go directly to the essence. You have been forced to discover what visualization was always meant to produce, the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Welcome. If this is your first time here, you have arrived at a place where the teachings of Neville Goddard are explored, not as theory, not as philosophy, but as lived experience, as practical mysticism, as the way you actually reshape your world. And if you have been with us before, welcome back. Today we are going to dismantle one of the most common and most painful misunderstandings in this entire teaching, the belief that you must visualize clearly in order to manifest, the belief that mental imagery is the key and that without it you are locked out of your own creative power. That is not true. It has never been true. And by the end of this episode, you will know exactly how to enter the state of the wish fulfilled without straining to see a single thing. You will learn how to feel your way into your desire, how to inhabit it through sensation, through emotion, through inner knowing. And you will discover that the so-called visualization technique was never about the pictures at all. It was always about the state. Let us begin. Neville Goddard spoke often about visualization. He gave detailed instructions. He told his audiences to construct a scene, to see it clearly, to experience it vividly, to loop it until they fell asleep, infused with the feeling of the wish fulfilled. And because he spoke this way, thousands of students, perhaps you among them, took visualization to be the method, the requirement, the thing you must master in order to succeed. But listen closely to what Neville actually said, and you will notice something. He did not say you must see. He said you must feel. He did not say the vividness of the image is what creates. He said the naturalness of the feeling is what creates. In feeling is the secret. He wrote that the feeling of the wish fulfilled is the secret, not the picture of the wish fulfilled, not the flattery of the mental image. The feeling. And in lecture after lecture, when students would ask him what to do if they could not visualize, he would say something like this: then feel it, sense it, know it, experience it in whatever way is natural to you. He understood what so many teachers after him have forgotten, that human beings do not all think alike, that some people think in pictures and others think in feelings, in sounds, in inner knowing, that imagination is not a single faculty expressed in a single way, but the creative power of consciousness, and consciousness expresses itself through whatever channel is open. If you are someone who does not see mental images easily, or at all, you are not deficient. You are not less imaginative. In fact, your imagination may be stronger, more direct, more immediate than those who get distracted by pictures, because you have no choice but to go straight to the essence. You cannot rely on a beautiful mental movie to convince you. You must rely on the feeling itself, on the inner conviction, on the sense of reality that does not depend on sight. And that, my friend, is exactly where the power lives. Let me say it again. The image is not the power. The image is a tool some people use to invoke the feeling. But if you can invoke the feeling without the image, you have skipped a step. You have gone directly to the cause. The feeling is the power. The feeling is the state. The feeling is what impresses the subconscious, what shifts your inner being, what rearranges the world to match your assumption. Neville knew this. He said it plainly. He said that if you can lose yourself in the feeling of your wish fulfilled, if you can fall asleep in that feeling, you will wake to find the world conformed to it. He did not say you must see yourself in a new house. He said you must feel yourself in a new house. And feeling does not require sight. Let us be very practical for a moment. Imagine you desire a new home. The typical instruction is this: visualize yourself in that home. See the rooms. See the furniture. See yourself walking through the front door. And if you are a visual thinker, that works beautifully. But if you are not, you sit there in the dark behind your closed eyes and you see nothing. Or you see something blurry and unconvincing and you think you have failed. But you have not failed. You have simply been given the wrong instruction. Here is the real instruction. Feel yourself in that home, not with your eyes, with your body, with your senses, with your awareness. Lie down in your bed and feel the texture of sheets that belong to your new bedroom, not by seeing them, by feeling them, by letting your body remember or imagine what good sheets feel like against your skin. Let your body sink into a mattress that feels different, that feels like the one in your new home. Let your awareness rest in the sensation of space around you. A different space, a larger space, a space that feels like yours. Do you hear different sounds? The hum of a different neighborhood, the quiet of the countryside, the echo of higher ceilings. You do not have to see it. You have to sense it. You have to let your whole being soak in the atmosphere of that reality. This is not a lesser form of imagination. This is kinesthetic imagination. This is sensory imagination. And it is every bit as powerful, every bit as valid as visual imagination. In fact, in many ways it is more powerful, if it is valid, as visual imagination. In fact, in many ways it is more powerful, but when your body feels something, your subconscious believes it. When your body remembers a sensation, your nervous system responds as though it is happening now. And that is the key. That is what we are doing when we imagine. We are creating a present tense experience of the wish fulfilled. And if your present tense experience of the wish fulfilled, and if your present tense experience is not visual, if it is tactile, emotional, auditory, kinesthetic, that is perfect. That is the whole thing. Neville himself often described his own imaginative acts in tactile terms. He would speak of climbing a ladder and feeling the rungs under his hands. He would speak of shaking a friend's hand and feeling the grip, the warmth. He would speak of lying in bed and feeling as though he were in another place entirely, feeling the air, feeling the solidity of a different reality around him. Yes, he could visualize, but notice how often he described the physical sensation, the realness of it. Then notice how often he described the physical sensation, the realness of it, because that was what convinced him. That was what made it natural. And naturalness, he said, is the key. You must imagine until it feels natural, until it feels real, until there is no effort, no strain, only the simple sense that this is how things are. Let me tell you about a woman who came to one of Neville's lectures and confessed that she could not visualize at all. Not a thing. She had what we now call a fantasia, the inability to form mental images, and she was heartbroken because she thought this teaching was not for her. Neville listened, and then he smiled. He told her that she had an advantage. He told her to simply assume the feeling of her wish fulfilled, to dare to feel as though it were already true, and to go about her inner life from that assumption. No pictures required, just the inner knowing, the quiet certainty. She did exactly that. She desired a marriage proposal from a particular man. She did not see herself receiving it. She simply felt herself as the woman who had been asked, who had said yes, who wore the ring, who moved through the world as an engaged woman. She did this by noticing how she would feel in her body, how she would hold herself, what inner conversations she would have, what quiet joy would hum beneath her daily thoughts. Within weeks, he proposed. She wrote to Neville and thanked him, and he shared her story to illustrate this exact point. You do not need to see. You need to feel. You need to become. So if you have been struggling, if you've been closing your eyes and clenching your mind trying to force a picture, stop. Stop right now. Release that effort. It is not serving you. Instead, ask yourself this: how would I feel if this were already true? Not how would it look? How would it feel? And then, gently, kindly, let yourself feel that way. Let your body soften into it. Let your breathing slow. Let your awareness settle into the atmosphere of the wish fulfilled. This is the state. This is what Neville meant when he said, assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. He did not say assume the picture. He said assume the feeling. And a feeling is not something you see. It is something you inhabit. Now let us go deeper. Let us talk about emotional imagination, because this is another pathway that is just as powerful and just as direct as either visual or kinesthetic imagination. Because this is another pathway that is just as powerful. Emotional imagination means allowing yourself to feel the emotions you would feel if your desire were already realized. And this is something every human being can do. You do not need to see in order to feel joy. You do not need to visualize in order to feel joy. You do not need to visualize in order to feel relief. You do not need a mental picture in order to feel loved, fulfilled, secure, free. These emotions exist within you already. They are states of consciousness, and you can enter them at will. This is what Neville meant when he said that feeling is the secret. He meant that the emotional state you sustain is what creates your reality, not your thoughts, not your images. Your feeling, the mood, the inner climate, the emotional atmosphere you live in, and you can shift that atmosphere right now without seeing a single thing. Think about it this way. When you imagine something wonderful happening and you feel a rush of joy, what caused that joy? Was it the picture in your mind, or was it the meaning you gave to that picture? It was the meaning. It was the belief that something good is happening, that something you desired is now yours, that life is working in your favor. That meaning produced the feeling. And here is the secret. You can generate that meaning, and therefore that feeling, without the picture. You can simply decide that your desire is fulfilled. You can assume it as fact, and when you assume it as fact, the corresponding emotion arises naturally. If you assume you are loved, you feel loved. If you assume you are successful, you feel successful. If you assume you are free, you feel free. The assumption produces the feeling, and the feeling, sustained, hardens into fact. Neville told a story about a man who desired a large sum of money. He could not visualize himself holding the money or depositing the check. He tried, and it felt hollow. So instead he simply asked himself, how would I feel if I had this money right now? And the answer came immediately. Relief. Deep, pervasive relief. So he practiced feeling relieved. Not about anything in particular, just relieved. He would lie in bed at night and breathe into that feeling. He would walk through his day and let that relief color his thoughts. He stopped worrying. He stopped straining. He rested in the feeling that it was already done. Within a short time, the money came. An unexpected inheritance, a forgotten investment that suddenly paid out. It does not matter how it came. What matters is that he impressed his subconscious with the feeling of relief, and his subconscious, which is the creator of all outer conditions, manifested circumstances that match that feeling. He did not visualize. He did not see. He felt, and feeling was enough. This is what I want you to understand. Your imagination is not broken. It is simply not visual, and that is perfectly fine. In fact, it may be a gift, because you are forced to rely on the substance rather than the form. You are forced to go to the feeling, the knowing, the being, and that is where all the power is. Neville said again and again that consciousness is the only reality. Not the images in consciousness is the only reality. Not the images in consciousness, not the thoughts in consciousness. Consciousness is not something you see. It is something you are. When you shift your consciousness, when you change the state you are identified with, the whole world shifts to reflect it. And you shift your state by changing how you feel, by changing what you assume to be true, by changing the inner conversation and the inner mood. None of that requires a picture. Let me give you another angle on this. Have you ever noticed that when something real happens in your life, you do not sit there trying to see it clearly? You simply know it. You feel it. You take it for granted. When you receive good news, you do not visualize the good news. You feel the good news. The feeling is immediate. The knowing is immediate. And that knowing produces a whole cascade of inner and outer changes. Your mood shifts. Your body relaxes. Your expectations change. The way you move through the world changes. And all of that happens without a single mental image. This is what Neville meant when he said that your assumption, though false, if persisted in, will harden into fact. The assumption is the state of consciousness. The state of consciousness is the feeling. and the feeling, when it becomes natural, becomes your reality. So if you desire something and you cannot see it, then assume it. Simply assume it. Say to yourself quietly, with conviction, "It is done. I have it. It is mine. I am the person who has this." And then notice what feeling arises from that assumption. Maybe it is relief. Maybe it is joy. Maybe it is peace. Maybe it is quiet satisfaction. Whatever it is, that is your target. That is the feeling you want to return to again and again until it becomes your habitual state, until it becomes natural, until you no longer have to try, until you simply are the person who has this thing, who lives this way, who knows this truth. And when you are that person in consciousness, the world must reflect it, not because of magic, not because of cosmic law in some superstitious sense, but because the world is yourself pushed out. The world is the manifestation of your consciousness. Change your consciousness, and you change your world. It is that simple. It is that profound. Now, there is one more dimension to this that I want to explore with you, and that is inner knowing. There are people who do not visualize and who do not feel strong emotions easily, but who have a very clear sense of inner knowing. They simply know. They assume something is true, and they know it is true, without fanfare, without emotional fireworks, without mental pictures. Just a quiet, unshakable certainty. This is also imagination. This is perhaps the purest form of imagination, because it is consciousness identified with a state, with no intermediary, no image to cling to, no emotion to sustain, just being, just knowing, just I am. Neville spoke about this when he quoted scripture, "I am that I am." He said that I am is the name of God, and God is your own consciousness. When you say I am, you are defining yourself. You are claiming a state, and whatever you claim, you become. If you say I am wealthy, and you know it, and you rest in that knowing, you will become wealthy. If you say I am loved, and you will be loved, and you will be loved. The knowing is the key, not the picture, not the emotion, the knowing. Let me tell you about a man who used this approach to transform his entire life. He was not a visualizer. He was not particularly emotional, but he had a strong sense of inner certainty. He decided that he was successful, not that he would become successful in a certainty. He decided that he was successful, not that he was successful, not that he was successful, that he was successful, not already in consciousness. And he simply walked in that assumption. He did not try to convince himself with images or feeling. He simply took it as a fact. And because he took it as a fact, he began to think differently, speak differently, act differently. He made decisions from that assumption. He carried himself with quiet authority. He stopped seeking validation and started giving it. And within a year, his external circumstances had completely rearranged themselves to match. New opportunities appeared. Old limitations dissolved. People began to treat him as the successful man he had assumed himself to be. And all of it flowed from a simple inner knowing, a decision, an assumption held steady. This is what Neville meant when he said, "Dare to assume." He meant, dare to claim the state is yours, regardless of present circumstances, regardless of past evidence, regardless of the doubt and mockery of the outer world. Dare to assume, and then live in that assumption until it becomes so natural that you forget you ever assumed it at all, until it is simply who you are. And the way you live in that assumption is not by straining to see it or feel it, but by quietly knowing it, by taking it for granted, by letting it inform every inner conversation, every inner reaction, every quiet thought. This is the walk of faith that Neville spoke of. Faith is not belief in something external. Faith is loyalty to the invisible reality you have claimed in consciousness. It is fidelity to the invisible reality you have claimed in consciousness. It is fidelity to your assumption, and it does not require a picture. So let me give you a very clear practice that you can begin today, right now, that does not require any visualization at all. This is a feeling-first approach. This is for those of you who have been struggling, who have been doubting, who have been told that visualization is the only way. It is not the only way. It is not even the best way for you. Here is the way that will work, because it is aligned with how your consciousness actually operates. I want you to choose one desire, just one, so that you can focus, so that you can feel the shift, so that you can prove this to yourself. Write it down if you like, or simply hold it clearly in your mind. Now I want you to ask yourself this question and answer it honestly, from the deepest part of yourself. If this desire were already fulfilled, how would I feel right now? Not how would it look, how would I feel? And do not give me a mental picture. Give me a feeling. Give me a word. Relief, retrieve, feed, gratitude, confidence, safety, love. Whatever the word is, that is your target. That is the state you are aiming to enter. Now, close your eyes if that feels natural, or simply soften your gaze and turn your attention inward. Take a slow breath. Let your body settle. And then, gently, invite that feeling into your awareness. If the word is relief, ask yourself, what does relief feel like in my body? Maybe your shoulders drop. Maybe your jaw unclenches. Maybe your breathing slows. Let it happen. Do not force it. Just allow it. If the word is joy, ask yourself, where do I feel joy? Maybe it is warmth in your chest. Maybe it is lightness in your belly. Maybe it is a tingling in your hands. Let yourself feel it. Even if it is faint, even if it is just a whisper, honor it. Nurture it. Breathe into it. And as you do, silently say to yourself, this is real because it is done. This joy is justified because my desire is fulfilled. This relief is real because it is done. This joy, this peace is mine because I am living the reality I desired. You are not pretending. You are not faking. You are entering the state. You are assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled. An assumption persisted in becomes fact. Do this for just a few minutes. Do not strain. Do not strain. Do not strain. Do not perform. Simply rest in the feeling. Let it fill you. Let it become the dominant mood. And then, when you are ready, carry that feeling with you as you go about your day. Or if you are doing this at night, let yourself fall asleep in that feeling. Let it be the last thing you are aware of as you drift off. This is Neville's technique. This is the state akin to sleep. You do not need to visualize a scene. You need to fall asleep feeling as though your desire is already fulfilled. And if you can do that, if you can lose yourself in that feeling, the subconscious will accept it as fact and proceed to build your world accordingly. Now as you practice this, you may notice something. The feeling may fade. Doubt may creep in. The old state, the old mood of lack or longing may try to reclaim you. That is normal. That is expected. Do not be discouraged. Simply return to the feeling, again and again. Every time you remember, every time you have a quiet moment, 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 every time you have a quiet moment. Retrain to the feeling. Reclaim the state. This is what the never bent teach, but that you must return to the state again and again until it becomes habitual, until it becomes your new normal, until you no longer have to try, because you simply are that person. The person who has this, the person who has this, the person who lives this way, the person for whom this is already true. And here is something beautiful. As you practice this, you will begin to notice that the feeling generates its own evidence. You will start to have inner conversations that match the feeling. You will start to make small decisions that align with the state. You will start to carry yourself differently. And the world, which is always reflecting your inner state, will begin to shift. Small things at first. A change in how people respond to you. A sudden opportunity. A coincidence that feels meaningful. And then larger things, doors opening, circumstances rearranging. The very thing you desired appearing in your world, not because you begged for it, not because you chased it, but because you became the person to whom it naturally belongs. This is the promise. This is the law. And it works whether you visualize or not. Let me share one more testimony with you, because I want you to see how real this is, how practical, how provable. There was a woman who desired reconciliation with someone she loved. The relationship had ended painfully. She wanted it restored. She tried to visualize them together again. But every time she did, she would cry. The image brought up too much pain, too much longing. It felt fake. It felt desperate. So she stopped trying to visualize. Instead, she asked herself, how would I feel if we were together again? And the answer was simple. I would feel cherished. So she decided to feel cherished. Not by him, just cherished. She would lie in bed at night and imagine without pictures that she was deeply cherished by life, by love itself. She would feel it in her body. She would breathe into it. She would let that feeling carry her into sleep. She did not think about him. She did not beg or plead in her mind. She simply rested in the feeling of being cherished. And within a matter of weeks, he simply rested in the feeling of being cherished. And within a matter of weeks, he reached out, not with apology or explanation, but with tenderness, with the very energy of cherishing. And she knew, without a doubt, that her inner state had created the outer change. This is the power you hold. This is the creative force you wield, not through perfect mental images, but through consciousness itself, through feeling, through assumption, through inner knowing. You are not a person trying to imagine correctly. You are consciousness, imagining, and consciousness does not need pictures to create. It only needs to be, to assume, to feel, to know. And then the whole world, which is nothing more than consciousness pushed out, must conform. So let us zoom out now. Let us look at the bigger picture, because this teaching is not just about getting things. It is not just about manifesting a new house or a relationship or a sum of money. Those things are wonderful. Those things are yours to claim. But the deeper truth is this: you are learning who you truly are. You are learning that you are not a body with a consciousness. You are consciousness with a body. You are not a person in a world. You are the world. You are not a seeker of good things. You are the source of all good things. You are I am. You are the operant power. And everything is your own consciousness pushed out. When Neville spoke about the promise, he spoke about the day you will know, beyond all doubt, that you are God, not in some abstract theological sense, but in the most intimate, undeniable experiential sense. That all of this, the whole vast world, the people, the circumstances, the events, all of it is you. Your own infinite imagination, playing all the parts, creating all the drama, experiencing all the joy and pain and beauty and struggle. And when you awaken to that, every question dissolves. Every fear evaporates, because you see that there is nothing outside of you. There is no power acting on you. There is only you imagining and then entering your own imagination and experiencing it as reality. And until that day comes, you live by the law. You practice the principle. You test it. You prove it. You learn to assume the state you desire and to rest in it until it becomes your reality. And sometimes the path to that state is visual, and sometimes it is kinesthetic, and sometimes it is kinesthetic, and sometimes it is simply. And all paths are valid. All paths lead to the same place, to the recognition that consciousness is cause and the world is effect, that you are not at the mercy of circumstances. You are the creator of circumstances, that you are not hoping to be blessed. You are the blessing. And so, as you leave this teaching today, I want you to release the burden you have been carrying, the belief that you are doing it wrong, the fear that you are doing it wrong, the fear that you are not good enough at this, not visual enough, not imaginative enough. That is a lie. You are imagination. You are the power itself. And whether you see or feel or simply know, you are creating, always creating, in every moment. The only question is whether you are creating consciously or unconsciously, whether you are assuming the state you desire or assuming the state you fear. And now you know how to choose. Now you know that you do not need to see a picture to claim a reality. You only need to feel it, to know it, to be it. And the world, which has no choice, will conform. Neville said that the world is a mirror, forever reflecting the state of consciousness in which you habitually dwell. If you dwell in lack, the mirror shows lack. If you dwell in fulfillment, the mirror shows fulfillment. And the state you dwell in is not determined by what you see with your physical eyes or even your inner eyes. It is determined by what you feel, by what you assume, by who you know yourself to be. So tonight, as you lie down to sleep, do not strain to visualize. Do not perform some elaborate mental scene unless it comes naturally and joyfully. Instead, simply ask yourself, who am I now? What do I feel? What do I take for granted? And then gently assume the state of your wish fulfilled. Feel it. Know it. Let it cradle you as you drift into sleep, and trust with everything in you that the creative power within you is already at work, already rearranging the pieces, already preparing the manifestation. You are not trying to make something happen. You are accepting that it has already happened in consciousness, and consciousness is the only reality. The outer world is shadow, consciousness is substance. And you have just learned how to reshape that substance without relying on mental pictures, without needing to see, only needing to feel, to know, to be. This is the secret. This is the power. This is the truth Neville lived and taught and proved again and again. And now it is yours, not as theory, as lived experience, as the way you move through the world from this moment forward. So stop trying to visualize, stop straining, stop judging yourself. Just feel the wish fulfilled, feel the state. Feel yourself as the person who already has, who already is, who already lives in the reality you desire. And then rest. Rest in that feeling. Let it become natural. Let it become you. And watch with quiet wonder as the world around you begins to shift. Slowly or suddenly, subtly or dramatically, but always inevitably to match the inner state you have claimed as your own. This is your power. This is your inheritance. You are not a beggar at the feet of a distant god. You are the creator, imagining and then experiencing your own imagination as reality. And whether you see it or feel it or simply know it, you are doing it now. You have always been doing it. And now, finally, you are doing it consciously. You are doing it on purpose. You are becoming the person you were always meant to be. The person who knows. The person who assumes. The person who lives in the feeling of the wish fulfilled and therefore lives in the fulfillment itself. So go now. Walk in your assumption. Rest in your state. And let the world, which is nothing but yourself pushed out, rise to meet you exactly as you have imagined it to be. Not with your eyes, with your heart. Rise to meet you exactly as you have imagined it to be, with your entire being. This is the teaching. This is the way, and it works. I tell you, it works. Try it. Dare to believe it, and you will prove it to yourself, just as Neville proved it, just as countless students before you have proved it. You are the operant power. You are I am. And whatever you assume, with feeling, with knowing, with the quiet certainty of consciousness itself, must come to pass. It is done. Now rest in that knowing and let the world catch up to who you have already become.